Safety. We're going to talk about ladder safety today. Hello, everybody. We want to talk about a few things, talking about how to set up a ladder properly. We want to increase awareness today about accidents that have happened on ladders and how we can avoid accident and injury. So we'll look at that and a few other examples of the types of ladders and things like that that might pertain to the work that we do. There's also some new requirements. OSHA has some new things coming out. We'll talk about some requirements they now have for fixed ladders. And so that's the goal, and I hope you take something away from this today that might help you in your life, whether it's at work or at home. The use of a ladder, we can all be safer with it, so that's the goal today. So why are we talking about ladders? Why are we making this our topic for the month? It's something we use constantly. We use them in different places, and people get injured really easily on ladders, and so we want to talk about ways to prevent that. OSHA has found within the last decade there's been about 43% of all fatal falls have involved a ladder of some kind. I've heard of several cases where even smaller ladders people have lost their life from. Even a 4-foot ladder, somebody fell off one time and died. They must have landed wrong on their head or landed wrong. But even a small fall is enough to kill us or seriously injure us, and we want to prevent that. But most ladder accidents usually happen between about 6 and 10 feet. That's kind of the average situation where the accidents happen. So we want to look at that. We want to raise awareness and see what's going on. You might recognize this character here on the left. You might get some good laughs out of this guy at times. He reminds us about what can go wrong on a ladder and things that can happen. We want to look at the top 5 ladder injuries, the top 5 causes of ladder injuries. And falls and slips is by far the majority of what happens. People falling off of a ladder, or they're climbing up or coming down and their feet slip off of the ladder. People fall and get injured that way. Descending the ladder is another big cause of injury. Maybe they miss the rung as they're coming down, they miss their step, their foot goes through the opening and they fall to the ground. Or they miss the step as they come down and they step off of that ladder and hit the ground below. They step wrong, and that can cause injury as well. There's been cases where people have had strains from lifting ladders, carrying them in an awkward position or over their head, or straining their back or arms and ways from carrying the ladders. At times the ladder slips out and gives way from below them. Maybe they don't have a good footing, or they don't have it set up properly, and it causes that ladder to shift and fall and come down, and the person comes with it. And the other top 5 injury cause is being smashed by or hit by a ladder. This happens where the ladder can fall over and hit somebody, or there's parts of it that have some moving parts, or things where you get your finger smashed in, or body parts smashed in between a ladder, or being hit by it. So those are the top 5 main causes of ladder injuries that we want to learn to prevent. So here's some examples. These are some real claims, things that we saw that came in the last few years of what happens on ladders. So we had a pinched finger. Somebody was setting up a ladder. There must have been some moving parts or little bars or something that got their finger caught in it, and it ended up cutting their finger. And I actually saw one of these about 5 years ago. I did an investigation on a ladder incident at a different company I worked for. There was an extension ladder, and as the employee was coming down, their pinky finger got caught in between the rung and the side rail of that extension ladder. And so it was caught there, and as they stepped off that ladder, they twisted their body around, and their finger stayed and didn't go with the rest of them. It ended up tearing ligaments and requiring surgery on that finger. So sometimes something very simple on a ladder can get us as well and have a major injury. Other examples were there were objects that fell from a ladder that fell onto an employee's head. It hit him in the head. A knee popped while climbing up a ladder. Animals or insects startled an employee as he was on top of the ladder, and he fell backwards and fell off the ladder. Sounds kind of funny, but it does happen. And missed the ladder rung while coming down. So those are all things that can happen. Those are real-life examples of claims and things that we see that we want to learn from and prevent. So one thing that you might want to know is that there's actually different ladder types. There's different ratings. And it comes down to really how many pounds they're rated for. So there's household types, commercial types, and industrial types. You want to make sure that you're using a good heavy-duty ladder, that it's rated for the type of work that you're doing, and that it can hold that weight. You got to think about everything. If you, let's say you got to consider your own weight, and if you had anything on you like a tool belt or something attached to you, there could be some more weight that you're carrying on there. You want to make sure that that ladder is good and sound as you go up that. And I'm sure you've felt it before. If you've ever been on an older ladder or a ladder that's maybe not as heavy duty, it's a little bit rickety up at the top, you know that feeling. It just doesn't feel as secure. And you don't want to take chances on your life and use the wrong ladder and have an accident over something like that. So realize that there are ratings. When you have a ladder, there will be labels on the sides and stickers that tell you its rating and how many pounds it's rated for, what it can handle. Make sure you check that out before you even use it. So there's different types of ladders. We'll look at several examples of these today. This one on the left is a fixed ladder that's got a cage on it, and the one on the right is a basic step ladder. That's a very common type that you see that we use. So we'll look at the two different main types and then different examples of those portable ladders as well. So the key is you have to choose which ladder is best for you. So you got to think about the type of work you're doing. How high do you need to get up to? Do you need to get up on top of a roof, or is there a platform, or do you need to be able to stay on the ladder and reach something? Those are things you need to think about. What is the task? What about the environmental conditions? Is there electricity, overhead power heads or overhead power lines nearby? Think about those things, and weather and things like that might play into the type of ladder that you choose. But choose the right ladder for the job that fits your needs to get the job done. And one of the best things you can do is make sure that you always do a pre-use inspection. So before you go up on a ladder, take a good look at it and check it out. See if there's any cracks, any wear and tear, any damage. If there's anything that could cause that ladder to come down or break or not work the way it's intended. You don't want to take a chance on your safety going up and chancing something with bad equipment. So always take a look at it before you use it. Never use a ladder in a strong wind. So I had an example of this last month. I was at a member's workshop, and we were inside. Two of us were inside, and outside there was a guy working on the AC unit, and he had a extension ladder set up, and it was probably about 25 feet or so high to get up to the roof to get on that AC unit. Well, we're inside the building, and all of a sudden this wind kicks up, and we hear this big crash outside. And we went out there, and that big ladder had toppled over. It fell right off the side of the building there. And we looked around for the guy, and sure enough, he was up on top of the roof there. And it was a good thing we came out, because otherwise he would have been stranded up there. But that's a good example to always realize that you've got to secure your ladder. You've got to take care of what you need to be able to work safely. And it's a good thing we were there to help him get back down and get that ladder put back up. But always make sure that your ladders are set up in the right way. They should be on good level, solid ground. You want to have those feet down on the ground, secured at the top. You don't want to put a ladder in front of a door or a walkway where somebody might be coming through. You want to think about the location where you want to put those things. Check for overhead power lines. You want to have a 10-foot minimum away from power lines. You don't want to have an electrical problem there with your ladder. So those are things to think about. But when you do your portable ladder inspection, there's a lot of things you can look for. Give it a good look over. Make sure the labels and stickers are there. Make sure the ratings are listed on there. Those can sometimes get worn and broken and peeled off. But look at all the parts and components. Look at the bracing. Look at condition. Look for any cracks or wear and tear, things that might be a problem on your ladder. So OSHA has a recommendation that you check your ladder regularly. So it needs to be regularly that you look at this. That'd probably be good on a monthly basis, but at least annually you need to do a good thorough inspection on your equipment. At least every year, go through it with a good checklist. Make sure those ladders are ready to go and ready to use. So there's lots of different types, many different types of ladders out there. This one here on the left is your basic step ladder, most commonly used. You see it in the workplace and you see it at home as well. There's a few things you want to look for on these. One is that top cap that's at the very top. Some people think that's often a step. It's actually not. It's just a cap on the top of the ladder. And you're not supposed to stand on that top cap. And you're also not to stand on the top step as well, the next one down. So it's actually 2 steps down, the second step that you can stand on and go no higher. So if you're trying to reach something and you're encouraged to go up on that top cap because you can't quite reach what's above you, it's time to go get a bigger ladder and get the right ladder for the job. But make sure these are set up the right way. The spreader bars should be fully extended, fully opened, should be on good solid ground with all 4 legs of that ladder touching, so that you're not compromising your safety on that. But we'll look at some other examples of these now that are listed here, some other types of ladders. So on those A-frame, make sure that you're not doing it like this guy. You can't stack these A-frame ladders together. Obviously, they didn't have a tall enough one. They're taking some real chances, and I wouldn't even want to be that guy down below trying to hold that thing up, because that's obviously a real hazard there. But these A-frame ladders, they're not to be stacked on top of other things either, like buckets or other objects to extend them out. They're basically intended to go as high as they can, and if you need a taller ladder, you have to go get another one. So don't use them as a straight ladder. This is an example. We found one of our member entities a few years ago. We found a ladder that was leaning up against the file cabinets here. There's several issues in this picture, as you can see here. But this ladder was not set up the right way. It was supposed to be fully opened and was not. It was being used in the wrong way. So there's an example of what not to do there. This is a straight ladder. It's just a basic ladder. It doesn't extend out, but you can lean it up against a wall and secure it and set it up in the right way. Now, maximum length on these is 30 feet, and 30 feet seems pretty high to me. But you don't want to, take chances with that. If you need to get higher, you'll need an extension ladder or something else. Make sure you tie it off. Make sure it's stable before you go up there. Make sure it's set up properly. One of the rules to using a ladder that you want to think about is keep your belt buckle inside the rails. So what that means is don't be leaning your body out past the sides of those rails. Keep it in the center, because that can get you off balance and cause you to fall off of the ladder that way. So think about that. An extension ladder, this is another one you're probably very familiar with. This is where you have two single ladders that are connected together, and they can extend out to different lengths. And so they've got the two sections that move and extend out. The crazy thing about this is the maximum length on these is 60 feet, and there's no way I think I would want to go up a ladder that's 60 feet tall, but they do make them, and it would be a very heavy, long ladder that you would have to move around. So when setting these things up, there's some things you want to look for. And one is the 1 to 4 rule. What that is the length and height that you look at. And so for every 4 feet high that your ladder is, it needs to be 1 foot out. And what that does is it's that 1 to 4 ratio that gets you the right angle, that right slope of the ladder, so that it's not too flat or too steep as you climb up, that it doesn't cause it to fall over backwards on you, or that it's not too flat that it can cave in and break parts of the ladder. So setting it up in the right way is a really critical way to do that. To keep yourself safe. And if you don't have a tape measure or some way to measure that exact distance, there's a really quick way that you can do this. Walk up to the bottom of the ladder and put your 2 feet touching that front feet of the ladder, and then reach your arms straight out. And if your hands are touching the ladder and your feet are touching the ladder, that's a pretty good gauge of being pretty close to that 1 to 4 ratio. It can give you an idea for that. Just a quick way to judge that and set that up the right way. It is required that you tie off at the top, because what can happen is that ladder can shift as you climb up and you go to get off onto another surface. It can shift and move away, and so it's recommended that you do tie off that ladder at the top. If you are going to go up to say a roof or an upper landing or a platform of some kind, you need to have that ladder extend at least 3 feet above that landing where you're going to get off. And reason for that is it gives you something to hold on to as you get off on and off of that ladder. So make sure it's extended above and you've got that secured. One of the other best practices that I've seen with these that really helps and makes it easier for the climber is have somebody stand down at the bottom as you're going up and down that ladder. Have them help secure that base of the ladder, that bottom feet of the ladder. And you could have somebody stand on that bottom step to hold it in place, or maybe just brace the sides of it to keep it from slipping out and shifting or moving as you're going up and down. That's a really good way to do that to help each other. There's many other examples of ladders out there. Here's an articulated ladder. It extends out. It goes at different angles. Sometimes these can be used on stairways and things like that to get to the right level and have it adjusted properly. There's many different types. Make sure you follow the manufacturer's recommendations and instructions and use it as intended. This is an extension trestle ladder. You can see there's 2 support structures, and you can actually put a scaffold plank between these 2 to set that up for a different working surface that way. So as I say, there's many examples there. This is one of the best ones. This is one of my favorites. It's very easy to use. This is a mobile ladder stand that they use in warehouses or shops. It's really good on smooth floors that you can roll around and move to different locations. And the nice thing about this is it makes your job a lot easier. You don't have to make sure that it's set up the right way. You don't have to get the right angle. You don't have to worry about it slipping out from under you. It's a very simple and easy to use ladder stand. So the nice thing here is you can move it into place. and then you can step on there. There's a little lever right below that bottom step that you can step on, and it raises the rollers off the ground and secures it to the ground so that it doesn't roll as you're going up and down that ladder stand. Nice thing is you've got handholds. There's some guardrails at the top. It's a really easy way that can prevent injury. It's a really good tool for the job to use the right ladder, and that's a simple way to have in your workshops. There's also many other good examples. Jason talked about one here earlier this morning where he used at his home, and this is a really nice one that has a platform at the top of the ladder. And so you can see there's kind of a bar up on top and a larger surface that you can stand on instead of just standing on a little ladder rung. You've actually got somewhere that you can put both of your feet on and have plenty of support to work from there. So there's many examples. The key is look at the ladders, determine what type of work you're doing, and get the right ladder for the job to make it safe and efficient for you as you do your job each day. One of the things that we see, when we go around workshops and look at places, is we see a lot of ladders that aren't secured. As you can see in the picture here, there's just some tall ladders just leaned up against the wall, and looks pretty good for now, but those can easily be knocked over or fall over or tip down. And so our recommendation is make sure that you secure those. Maybe put a chain around them and chain them to the wall or tie them off. There's even hooks that people have put up on the sides of their walls they hang the ladders from. It's just a lot easier to keep them secured so that they don't fall over and cause damage or break something or cause some injury there in your shop or places you work. So definitely get them secured. As far as storage and maintenance of ladders, it's good that you keep them clean. You don't want to keep them outside where they can get weathered and deteriorate. Keep them in a good storage location where they're protected, where they won't crack or have problems or deteriorate from the weather and things like that. Definitely do your inspections. Keep documentation on that when you do that. And if you do have a ladder that's damaged, it's got issues, if you find that during your inspection, make sure you take that ladder out of service. I've seen several times where on a job site, someone will have a ladder that's worn out and they'll go and throw it in the dumpster to throw it away. Well, along comes somebody else and they see this ladder sitting in the dumpster, and eventually you see it back on your job site again. So I've heard of people that just cut it up, destroy it, make it unusable, cut it up so that nobody can take it and use a ladder that's in a bad condition there. So there are many different types. These are the fixed ladder type that we were talking about earlier. These are where you have a single ladder that's attached to a structure. So it could be like a shop or a building somewhere where you have a ladder that you have to climb up to. So the one on the left is just a basic straight fixed ladder, and the one on the right there, it has a cage around it. And so what that cage does is it allows at a certain height, if somebody were to fall backwards or slip off the ladder, it catches them and holds them somewhat closer to that ladder so they don't fall backwards. So OSHA requires that fixed ladders have a safety cage when they're higher than 20 feet. They've also got some fall protection requirements. If your ladder is over 24 feet, OSHA requires that you have a personal fall arrest system for that fixed ladder. Now that's where you have a harness and lanyard on that's attached. It keeps you from falling so that if you do fall, it catches you from hitting the ground below. And the other option is have a ladder safety system where there's an actual cable or a system that you attach and tie off to as you go up and down that fixed ladder. So OSHA has some new regulations coming out. This starts in November of this year, and it's pertaining to the fall protection requirements greater than 24 feet. So they now will not allow any more cages to be installed on their ladders. So going forward, it starts November 19th of 2018. If you have a ladder where fall protection is required, you have to have a ladder safety system. And so that's for any new install, if it's a brand new ladder that's being installed, or if you're doing repairs on a fixed ladder that does have a cage on it. If you're doing any kind of repair or modification to that, they now want you doing away with that. No more cages and going to that ladder safety system. So here's an example of a ladder safety system. The guy on the left has a cable you can see that runs up the front of that fixed ladder. He's got a harness on and a D-ring in the front that attaches to this braking mechanism on the cable. And so what happens is as you climb that ladder, you got this little brake that runs along it, and it slides up the cable just fine. But if that person falls, it engages that brake and it catches on that cable so that they can't fall anymore. So this is what OSHA is now requiring for anything 24 feet higher on a fixed ladder, that you have these ladder safety systems installed. going forward. And then 20 years out, they've actually got it where they're going to do away with all the cages. So 20 years from now, there shouldn't be any more cages greater than 24 feet. It'll only be these ladder safety systems going forward. So that's just kind of an overview of the different types of ladders that are out there. You can see there's many different portable types. They have different setups and different uses. The key is make sure that you have the right ladder for the job. Make sure it fits the needs that you have, that you can accomplish the work and get to the things you need to without compromising your safety or putting yourself in a bad situation. Always inspect your ladders before use. Make sure that you're in a safe work environment. Check the ground. Make sure there's a good setup. Make sure it's good and level, that all the feet of the ladders are touching the ground, that it's on solid ground, that you're not near overhead power lines or other issues like that. Stay inside the rails. You don't want to lean out too far and have something come down or have something break. The key is that injuries are always preventable on ladders. If you think about it, there's ways to set it up. There's ways to use the right ladder, but you have to think about it and think about your safety. Don't just compromise that because you're in a hurry and can't find the right equipment. So the key is hopefully everybody learns from this and realizes, you know, we can prevent those accidents. We can be more safe on ladders, but hopefully this is a good awareness to help us accomplish that. So with that, Jason, any questions that you have there?
Hey, anybody, if you've got any questions, type them into the chat box or in the Q&A box, and we'll get those to Brent right now. Great presentation. Appreciate that one. This is one of those safety things that I think everybody understands the risks of ladders, but we just don't think about it as often as we maybe should. It's just, oh, I need to change that light bulb, or I need to do this or that, and it's easy to jump up on a ladder and maybe not do it quite right, or I need to reach this, so I'm going to tip that A-frame ladder up against the wall, and then the feet slide out from under you. So, yep. Just looking to see if we have any questions here, folks. You type those in. There was one other subject on there that I was thinking of, and this goes along with Doug's presentation in a few minutes, and that's one focus that OSHA had, and that was on roof hatch extensions. When you have a fixed ladder that goes up to a roof hatch where you can climb up onto the top of your building, there should be some sort of extension that goes up from there, either fixed to the hatch outside of the on top of the roof, or it should be on the ladder, something that can extend up to help you get up onto the roof from that hatch. So take a look at that. If you do have some sort of a roof access like that, where you've got a hatch, there should be something that extends at least 3 feet up that allows you to hold on as you access the roof. I've had a couple of those as we've been doing inspections or risk assessments as we walk around some of your buildings where they're a little sketchy to get up on the roof. So, all right, I'm not seeing questions typed in. We appreciate everybody's attendance here. Brent, final word?
Everybody be safe out there. Hope you have a great week. Thanks for coming today.
All right. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.